Right now, I want to welcome to the program from Breitbart, Texas. Sarah Rumpf is with us. Sarah, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. We've been talking a lot about the campus carry legislation, not only in Texas, but in other states around the country. And it was really interesting. You said that the head of the Texas chapter of Moms Demand Action, Kelly Burke, testifying in opposition to both campus carry and open carry, and really made some comments that just are quite simply, they're not true. She said, quote, "We don't know about how, quote, responsible CHL holders are because that data set's not available and is completely locked down. Any statements about how, quote, responsible and law-abiding CHL holders are is completely anecdotal and therefore conjecture." But as you point out, Sarah, on the Texas Department of Public Safety website, you can actually look and see how many convictions there were in the state of Texas, how many of those convictions came from individuals who had a CHL.
Yeah, they have the data in excruciating detail. Like, you can look and see for like half a dozen different types of burglaries and how many, are broken down. And year after year after year since 1996, the percentage of these crimes total across the state committed by CHL holders is never even reaches half of 1%. So, I saw that and I had to go and watch it again. And I don't know where she's saying this data is locked down, because if you Google Texas CHL holders, Texas CHL crime, Texas crime stat CHL, I tried a bunch of different words. This all pops up on the first page of Google. So she's either a liar or too stupid to use the internet.
Well, look, we know, Sarah, that Every Town for Gun Safety, I don't know motivation. I've never met the woman, but we do know that Every Town for Gun Safety has been factually challenged in the past, right? I mean, everybody from CNN to PolitiFact has gone after them for the veracity of their report, quote unquote, on the number of school shootings since Sandy Hook Elementary. So it would not surprise me if they were aware that this data was out there and then decided, you know what, let's just pretend it doesn't. What are they going to do? They're going to call me out on this, right? Are they going to call me back to chastise me? I guess, maybe the bigger question is, are the lawmakers aware that this information is out there?
Absolutely. I interviewed Senator Brandon Creighton, who's one of the members of the committee who's co-sponsored and co-authored the bills, and he was aware of the data. Several of the senators on the committee mentioned the data at the beginning of the day of testimony when they were discussing the bills. They're all well aware of it. And the lawmakers who have been on the forefront of supporting gun rights in Texas, they're all very well aware of it. The Jerry Patterson, who when he was in the legislature had sponsored the original CHL law, is frequently quoted in interviews about it, saying they all predicted that there would be Wild West shootouts and blood and mayhem in the streets, and it didn't happen. Just like we knew would happen, exactly what we knew would happen. Texans are good law-abiding people, and the process to get a CHL is working. And hey, there you go.
So do you think, Sarah, that the testimony of Kelly Burke, did it have any impact?
I don't think that it did, except for speaking to the people that are already her audience and drinking the Kool-Aid. As somebody who's worked on political campaigns, I can kind of see her strategy, because both the bills that are being considered by the Texas Senate right now, the open carry bill and the campus carry bill, both use the existing Texas CHL procedure to just expand those rights a bit. So to say that they're not going to work, you have to say that the CHL holders it's not working, and say that that's not proving that they're safe people and not proving that it's a safe process. So that's the argument that they're kind of left with, because the data is there in excruciating detail for 2 decades.
It has been. And it's not just Texas, by the way. Again, the number of... Another way to look at this, actually, is not just with the convictions, but the revocations of concealed carry permits, right? Because if you are convicted of a crime, you're gonna have that license revoked. And so you can look at the number of revocations, for instance, in the state of Florida. And it is, again, minuscule compared to the number of right-to-carry holders. It is, again, a fraction of a percentage point. far less than 1% of these concealed carry holders lose their concealed carry license for any reason whatsoever.
Right.
At this point, in fact, I think it's beyond nonsense to argue not only that the data is somehow locked down, but to insist that, and I think the reason why they did this ultimately, Sarah, is because you can't really insist anymore. Well, we just don't know about these concealed carry holders, Sarah. You know, the data just isn't out there. It's a Wild West. I mean, look, we have 43 states that are shall issue right to carry. We have somewhere between 11 and 12 million Americans who have their concealed carry license. And while this has been happening, while more and more states have been expanding the laws, more and more Americans have been getting their concealed carry license, crime has been going down in this country. And that's indisputable.
Right. Yeah, the data is out there, and the other thing that I found that was so laughable was not Ms. Burke, but a number of the other opponents to the bills were arguing that expanding the number of people having guns would mean all these accidents and untrained people, and especially what was most insulting was when the argument was directed towards women. And I don't know a single female friend of mine with a gun that didn't do extensive research and training and practice and get a lot of advice from people. I mean, really, really careful homework on it. People are not just going out and saying, oh, golly gee, I think I want to get a gun. Okay, I'll take that one. Let me just stick it in my pocket here and see what happens. Nobody's doing that. That's just not the reality.
So, Sarah, I mean, honestly, it sounds kind of like Kelly Burke's comments may have hurt her cause far more than they helped them.
Yeah, and you know, I watched nearly all of the entire days of testimony, and the lawmakers noticed it too. The opponents to the bill the two bills were mostly relying on. If you're just talking about anecdotes and conjecture, it was the opponents to the bill. Well, if I had had a gun that day, it wouldn't have made a difference. Or if people have guns, it will make me feel nervous. Or I will be afraid if this happens, or I will be uncomfortable, or I think that. You look at what they're saying, and it was all this, I think that this will happen. That might make things worse. It wasn't data, it wasn't facts. And they're still never able to answer the question of, you know, under the Second Amendment, we have a right to bear arms. As a woman, I'd like the right to defend myself, and the reality is that a high school boy is going to be able to physically overpower me unless I have something to even the score. So none of them can answer those questions.
All right, Sarah, listen, I appreciate you coming on the program today. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
All right, great. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Sarah Rumpf with Breitbart, Texas, talking again about the testimony by Kelly Burke, president of the Texas chapter of Mamas Demand Action. There's no way to find this data. Just it's locked down.